Herc, your thoughts on the U.S. performance here to open 2023?
I'm trying to be as objective as possible. It's January camp. A lot of Major League Soccer players who are in preseason, who have never played together, some who are debuting for the first time, the nerves that entail coming into a situation like that and playing your first ever game with the senior national team against a Serbian B team.
I feel a butt coming. I feel a butt coming.
There's a Serbian B team, a bunch of players that want to prove themselves as well. I'm trying. It's difficult because I feel like we've gotten past this, let's hold their hand. Let's walk them through. You expect certain things. I don't want to give players a pass because that's not what we're here to do. But the first half especially, it was lazy mentally, tough to watch. What you saw on the field matched what you saw in the stands. The field as well. It looked like one of these games where we were just going through the motions until it picked up. And it took them going down 2-1. It took about the final 25 minutes for you to see some life out of them. For you to see some, instead of just instant moments of individual brilliance or flashes, if you will. Flash is a better word. Mm-hmm. You saw more cohesion. You saw more idea. You saw more urgency that you should see in a U.S. men's national team jersey. So all in all, it's what I expected a January camp game to be. I thought I'd see better performances, though. That's for sure.
From the collective, right? If it was a good performance that was ruined by a few bad mistakes, you could tolerate it. But this was a bad performance, I think, that was highlighted by some bad mistakes. And the mistakes you can forgive, even if it's a veteran player, somebody like Walker Zimmerman. Maybe he's out of rhythm, just getting back from the World Cup, as you mentioned, out of season with MLS. But the Serbian players might have the same complaint, right? As you mentioned, this was very much a Serbian B team. 17 players, it's a small team. 14 of them in the domestic league, 3 of them in MLS. So it has nothing to do with the Serbia that we saw at the World Cup. I think it's very important to say whatever you take from this game, collectively, individually, take it with a grain of salt, because it's not the USA team, but it's not Serbia's A team either. Herc, you mentioned the stands. Were you surprised at what seemed like a pretty dead atmosphere and a lack of attendance? I would have thought there'd be a lot more interest in this game coming off the World Cup.
Why? Everybody knows what this isn't the first rodeo for the U.S. men's national team in L.A. This is usually where they do their January camps. This is kind of usually what the crowd seems like. I live here in L.A. I'm in the South Bay. I work downtown, 2 different sectors of Los Angeles. I didn't see any advertising for this game. I didn't hear it on the radio. Listen, it is what it is. Those who know. But even those who knew about this game weren't enticed enough to go buy a ticket. That said, I've heard a lot of excuses online with friends when I speak to them, the ticket prices, the day of the week, whatever the case may be. It has to be said, Mexico plays tonight at the Coliseum versus this Serbian team with their Juego Molero squad. They fill that sucker up. That's a reality. It's where the programs are at in their fan bases as well. Take that as a dig if you'd like. That's just a reality. I'm pointing that out.
Is it arrogant to think that the U.S. should have bossed this game? Because it's not A versus A.
It's very arrogant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know enough about Serbian football, and I know you're not going to pretend to be that guy as well. This is a team that's never played together with a coach who, by the way, has no business being there. And this is being fair to him, he's there because there is no coach at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I found this very odd, even when I'm listening to the transmission about still trying to focus on Greg Berhalter's message and Greg Berhalter's play. To me, that was extremely odd.
Did you see any similarities between Greg Berhalter's formation, team, and what we saw today? You did see that, okay.
The good and the bad. And more of the bad, if I'm being honest.
Okay. In what way? Be specific.
In trying to put a square peg into a round hole, there are certain times where you don't have to make the system fit. If you pick a player pool, and this is a player pool you'd like to see, and now you see the players you have at your disposal, there is no, this is how we did it before, because Greg Berhalter did it. Listen, Anthony Hudson, you're not with Greg Berhalter anymore. You can do what you want. So if these players don't fit that system, you don't have to use that system. Nobody knows who the next coach is going to be. Nobody's going to fault you if you change the system. I found it very odd that the message was still about Greg Berhalter and his system. You saw throughout this game, certain players looked better coming from different positions. And you almost wondered if they were better catered to a different system.
Yeah.
That, with it being January, with it being all new guys, they don't know each other, a few debutantes, the nerves, etc. I thought it was pretty standard for what we might see.
Yeah. Just one quick kind of final thought here as I look over my notes. When we were at the World Cup and we would see, like, especially in looking at that midfield, Herc, we always talked about the drop-off from the first three to the next guy in line was severe. And we talk about this U.S. pool a lot, especially with all the guys in Europe. It's a very big pool, but I think something we learned tonight is it's not as deep as it needs to be, right? Because, and maybe you say it's arrogant, but I thought the U.S. would have at least maybe not walked all over Serbia, but certainly beat them at home and looked better than they did with the supposed B team. I have to say I was disappointed. I was disappointed in the performance today.
That's a little arrogant on your part. It used to be, and you've seen January camps a lot, Seb. You've been around. It used to be January camp was your B team. Some of those A players that would do January camps. That's a reality, right? That's what the U.S. men's national team used to be. That's how that pool used to be. A lot of these players, I mean, sure, Walker Zimmerman, A, because he played the World Cup, right? He was a starter at the World Cup. Besides that, what was the experience on this team? I wouldn't call this a C team. This is borderline D team, C to D. With the exception of some of those guys that were at the World Cup, look at this starting lineup. You're banking on Major League Soccer and the future, where the rest of those guys who are starters and their understudies are in Europe. That's a reality. They're not here. So I think you're maybe being a little unfair in that sense, in expecting so much out of this team. I don't want to say you underestimated the Serbian team, because you and I were both at that Serbia-Brazil game. There's a different level to that Serbian team, not only in the way they play, but physically. They didn't look like the same team physically.
But this team has nothing to do with that team. Let's be very, very clear.
Of course, but this team has nothing to do with the U.S. team. We're clear on that, right?
Yes, yes. More to do than the Serbian team, but yes.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.